Okay, awesome. Well, hi guys, I'm Kaitlin Pett. I'm with my co-author Chris from Indiana University. First of all, I want to thank everybody for this really cool conference. We learned a lot and definitely very inspiring. So today I'm going to be presenting a new approach on virtual ensemble assembly. So this is asynchronous assembly of classical music, chamber music. So note that this is a proof of concept. We don't have an app yet that people can try, but we hope to get there at some point. Okay, so motivation is fairly obvious, but I want to talk a little bit about it. So during COVID, as everyone knows, there was a lot of interest in online performance. Mark yesterday gave a really good introduction of the synchronous space. But today I want to focus on the asynchronous side, which was actually very, very popular, both for professional ensembles and even, you can see here, this is a 2020 concert from my old high school. So people from all levels really gravitated toward this method. And one of the reasons is because it's just so easy to put together. All you have to do, everyone records their part with some kind of set reference track, and then assembly is very straightforward. Just have an audio editor or video editor, stack everything up to align with the reference track, and voila, in line. Seems like it was played in sync. So, but there are also obviously some drawbacks to this approach. So first of all, most obviously, no real-time communication. You're just recording alone in your room. All the synchronization is an illusion. So for us, this is not what we're focusing on because there are some inherent benefits to asynchronous. For example, you don't have to be in the same place in the same time. And with our new method, there's going to be some other benefits as well. We're also, yeah, why don't I just move on from now? Okay, so into our new approach. So what we're doing is completely eliminating the reference track, which makes recording a lot easier and also allows for a lot more musical expressivity. So for classical musicians, unlike a lot of modern genres, playing with time is a very important part of musical expression. You choose your tempo for a reason. You may want to have rubato, speed up, slow down, have a retardando at the end of phrases. So all that are very important aspects that are not captured by the click track performance. Because if you're with the track, you decide to do a retardando, boom, you're off from all the other players. So what we do is we replace the reference track with automatic score alignment, offline automatic score alignment. So then we know exactly, okay, this part is playing each note at these exact times. And once we do that for all the parts, we can then stretch them note by note to an arbitrary new timing scheme where everybody is in line. So moreover, we can design this new timing scheme in ways that will preserve the player's original expressivity and combine each player's expressive intentions together in some kind of way. You guys can evaluate how successful that was, but we worked on several approaches in order to make that happen. Okay, so first I'm going to very quickly run through just our technical pipeline for how we start from recordings and turn that into an assembled piece. So here there's an example from one of the groups that we worked with. It's Brahms Clarinet Trio. We see the clarinet score up top. Oh, I have no mouse. Okay, clarinet score up top and the spectrogram of the audio in the bottom. Okay, first thing we do is line everything up. So match whatever note onsets are in the score to the note onsets that you could see in the original audio. And lastly, what we're going to do is stretch that on a note per note basis to fit some arbitrary new timing scheme. And if we do that to all the other parts and stretch them to the same new timing scheme, they're going to be aligned together. Is it changing? Okay, great. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of time to introduce who we worked with. So we ended up working directly with 3 ensembles, ranging from undergraduate music students to really top professionals in their field. So a thing to note about this is there's some important differences between these ensembles besides just their level. So they had very different levels of familiarity with each other. So our first Brahms ensemble was an undergraduate chamber group. They did it for coursework and they started their group pre-pandemic. So what that means is they'd rehearsed together in person and had some idea of what they wanted their group music to sound like. Our next group was based in UDK. So they had never played this Mendelssohn octet together in person before, but it's standard repertoire. They all knew the piece. They also all knew each other. Our last group was the most diverse. So my sister is a clarinetist at the Yale School of Music. So we ended up doing this collaboration where me and Chris were on oboe, and the other wind players were students and faculty from the Yale School of Music. So here, not all of us knew the piece, first of all, and we'd never played together as a group. So as a result, compared to the first two pieces, there was a lot more variation in interpretation. Some people took it very fast, some people took it very slow, a lot of different phrasings in there. So these things introduced some issues that we had to work through later on. Moreover, notice that these are two periods of classical music. So there's the romantic stuff and there's the classical stuff. Romantic music and classical music, there's different standards to what is appropriate in terms of rubato. So romantic music can accept a lot more rubato. For classical music, it should be fairly steady to be considered tasteful, quote unquote. So that's another thing that we had to take into consideration when doing our assembly. Okay, so to begin with, I want to describe a base case of basically an assembly where we had no expression whatsoever. So what we did here was we just took the score positions, multiplied it by a constant, and those were the times. So this is very, very metronomic. If it's quarter note equals 60, a quarter note is going to be 1 second, half note is going to be 2 seconds for every quarter note and every half note in all of the parts. So people were impressed that it worked, like they sent in their recordings, they're impressed that something came out the other end, but they didn't like the recording. So our favorite quote was from the Yale horn faculty, and he said, "Oh, it's as if everything that was B was just extracted from those notes." So he really, really did not like this. But I mean, that's a really fair point, and it gets to the heart of the matter because all of his tempo expressivity is gone. So this also shows the importance of having these algorithms that can help maintain some of those musician intentions, so they see themselves as having agency in creating the final performance. Okay, so next, you might be wondering, okay, what does it mean to preserve the timing expressivity? Because expressivity is such a nebulous concept, right? We had two ways to operationalize this. So first of all, you could say that preserving the musician's intentions is preserving their audio exactly. So whatever timing they had originally is whatever timing that should appear in the final version. So this works in some cases and can be very effective, but that's also a very constricting definition. So we also, to allow for more transformations, we had this second possible definition where expressivity preservation is timing pattern preservation. So that means if you scale the audio, make everything slower, make everything faster uniformly, that's preserving exactly what the player intended. But if you deform the audio, so let's say one note gets longer and everything else stays the same, that's going to be degrading the expressivity intention. In practice, it's not quite so simple. For example, in Mozart, one thing I did was for some sextuplet figures, I played it fairly quickly and applied one note longer because of that. And when slowed down doesn't work as well, but usually it's very good assumption. Okay, so we use these three strategies for approaching, and some of these strategies work better for certain situations than others. So I'm going to go into them. So our first strategy was modeling chamber music expertise. So basically what this is about is saying, okay, we have these original audio tracks and any type of deformation is going to lower the expressivity that's translated from the beginning. So we want to put them together in such a way that they're together, but we want to deform it as little as possible. So how do we approach that? And what we did was we looked toward chamber music knowledge. So according to methods that teachers tell students how to put together chamber music, what's an appropriate way to do this assembly? So we tried our first thing called follow the leader. And in here, we have a designated leader assigned for every part of the score. So that leader part is going to have their timing exactly copied from whatever they played in their original recording, and everyone else is going to be squished in order to line up with them. So what's nice about this is you could have leaders that switch off. So for example, maybe one part is more important or a better leader in a certain area, one part is a better leader in another area. You can arrange this framework so that different people are leading at different times. Let me play this for you to see, so you guys can get a taste for how it is. I'm going to be reducing some of the audio examples, but for now, let's give this a try. Hopefully audio works. Let's see. So this is our Brahms group. No. Let's see. About this Mac. Nope, wrong one. System preferences. This should be just the sound, I think. Output is headphones. Oh, it should be HDMI?
No, it should be HDMI.
Oh yeah, you're right. Thank you. Okay, sorry guys. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll start from the beginning again. Okay, so you guys can see there's a video with there, and we just stretched the video frames the same way we did the audio frames. So that's the Brahms group. I'm also going to show a recording of the Mendelssohn group here. All right, so I thought both of them sounded pretty good, but we got radically different responses from our ensembles. Well, let's start there. It did start there, amazing. So the Brahms group, the one that you first saw, they really liked their rendition. They thought it really, they didn't say too much, they said it was cool, but it seemed like they were happy with what it was. The Mendelssohn group was very unhappy with that rendition. And I think the main reason for this was because of the way that we determined the leaders. So we used a very simple heuristic, which is whoever's playing the fastest notes is going to be the leader. It makes the actual, faster, okay. It makes the actual assembly a lot easier in that way. So for Brahms, basically that was a good assumption lined up with musicality. For the Mendelssohn, that was not as good of an assumption because that meant the second part had most of the leading. So they said, first violin is not leading, that doesn't sound right, that's why. Okay, and this doesn't work with for the Mozart. I won't go into too many details for now, but basically everyone was recording at different tempos. So if you put it together, it's not gonna be steady anymore. Okay, so our second way is, let's see. So our second way is pretty similar to the first way. It's basically a reference track method, but we as the engineers determine the reference track. So we say, okay, beginnings of measures should align. So we stretch the measures all evenly so everyone aligns on a measure by measure basis. I'm not going to play this for you, but it is a very interesting example if you want to check it out. So the players toward this example said, okay, it sounds very expressive, but it's not idiomatic. So they're saying, okay, people are wiggling around too much. This is wrong. This is Mozart. It's supposed to be a lot more steady. So it showed a lot of expression, quote unquote, but not in a way that the players thought reflected what they intended. Okay, so next, optimization. So here we're just using an optimization method to specify what we want in the final recording and leave the how to the optimization algorithm that we're using. So in Mozart, we care about preserving expressivity, keeping things in sync, and having a steady tempo. So we translated each of those qualities into loss functions and inputted the initial note onset locations into our loss function, optimized it, and then we got a something that was able to capture all of those qualities. I'm going to play like 2 seconds from this example. Okay, so this version was actually the one that the players liked the most out of everything that we did. And they thought that in contrast to the last one, it was very steady. It was very appropriate. But, oh, next slide. But one other comment they said, it was like, it's nice, but it's not great. So it's appropriate, but I mean, it's not what we would have done if we were in person together. Okay, last, I'll go through this really fast. So this is a simulation-based method where we're trying to model the musician's cognitive processes from moment to moment. So we have these agents that say, okay, I will go, it's like a game kind of thing. So one person will move, other people will respond to them, and then everyone keeps moving in turn until you have a timing sequence. And the goals of this game are determined by, okay, so you want to follow everyone else, be with them in the next T-1 time point. You want to express your musical opinion, so show whatever interpretation was from the original recording, and you want to help the ensemble maintain the correct tempo. Okay, skip that. So this version people liked, but they did note that if we kept all those weights of each goal constant, then it comes apart sometimes, but it's fairly easy to tweak it. So in the parts where it falls apart, just make them follow more, listen more. Though messing with this is a little bit complicated though, so it's going to need a little bit more work on our end to sort it out. Okay, last slide. All right, we're there. So I already said this is a good alternate for reference-based asynchronous performance that is still very popular in a lot of scenarios. It could also serve as an aid for synchronous performance because chamber ensemble playing is a learned skill. So being able to align with something complicated while also maintaining musicality, that's something that's hard for people. So this could allow people to, if they're having trouble with a section, record it themselves and then see the algorithm put it together and see how they could sound if everything was to work out properly. Another interesting application is for controlled music synthesis, where this is a version where you can very closely control the timing by saying, okay, I want this time in the final version to correspond with, I don't know, this event in a video. So it allows you to manipulate music so it can align to other pieces of media. All right, I'm done. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Is there one question maybe? You have one?
This demo would be even more interesting if we could hear the original raw tracks and then the mix of all of them together so we could hear A/B test what changed. And remind me again, the raw tracks were recorded how? Just silently or with any kind of reference?
No reference. So we just told them, here's the part, go record your piece however you want it and send it up.
Okay, so the oboe player in your replay there was just sitting there silently imagining when he was going to come in for the Mendelssohn?
Well, actually, the nice thing about score alignment, I didn't really talk about this too much in the presentation, was that it can parse the rest automatically. So basically, when I was recording this part, I was like, okay, I have a rest. I'll wait 3 seconds and I'll go to the next part. And the score alignment was able to capture that and allow me to record the whole thing without waiting, I don't know, say 16 rests between part and part.